So four things that have a monster start to your career. Number one is have your sales talk fully memorized. Have your sales talk 100% memorized because all the technical content that you need in this business is in that 35-page booklet. Everything that you need to know for the next 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, however long you work here, everything you need to know is in that one booklet. Everything is duplicatable after that. It's the skeleton of the business. Every top producer uses it like the back of the hand. Dylan Buck. You guys, if you watch CJ, we had CJ do a demo last month. It was word for word from the sales talk. Okay, if you hold that sales talk up and listen to what he says, it's almost word for word, syllable by syllable from the sales talk. It's what all the top producers use. It's the foundation that you will grow with for the rest of your career. Okay, so when you're being trained or following somebody else, it could be an experienced agent, it could be somebody 6 months, 2 years in, but whenever you're a new agent, you're following somebody else, that person may have gotten to the point where they're personalizing their presentation a little bit. Okay, so there's 3 steps to personalizing your demo. Number one is you got to memorize it. You have to memorize your demo first. Every single word on there, like the back of your hand, you can internalize it so it becomes part of you, part of your DNA, where it's muscle memory. And then once you've internalized it, you can personalize it. Okay, so again, so if you're following somebody out in the field, most of them have gotten to the point, especially if they're a top producer and they're training you, they've probably gotten to the point where they're personalizing their sales talk so it sounds more like them. They have added some muscle to the skeleton. That's what Dylan Buck calls it, muscle to the skeleton. Every time you get a new tool, a new rebuttal, you're adding into your tool belt or a muscle to the skeleton or a new way of saying something better so the prospect receives it better. That's another muscle that you added to your skeleton. And everything else builds from that. Everything starts from the skeleton. You got to have the skeleton down first to add muscle to it later. It doesn't mean adding muscle doesn't mean you're adding a bunch of words to your presentation. That's not what that means. That's what a lot of people do. Adding too many words, go off way off in left field. It just means that it sounds more like you. Personalize it. You got your own stories. You can personalize your stories up. I had Tracy follow one of the top agents in Rogers' agency out in Denver yesterday, and she said, really, the only difference is she just has a ton of stories. She uses the sales talk just like us, but man, she's got stories for every situation, and everything that the client says relates to a story. Yeah, like this one client said, yeah, like what? That's exactly what Johnny said 2 doors down, yada, yada, yada. Relating it to stories. That's called personalizing it for you and your clients in your territory, personalizing it and having stories that you bring them to life. Okay. But you're still using the sales talk. You go right back into the sales talk after you talk have a quick story. Okay. I'm actually going to show you guys part of the sales talk that I personally just reread. This is on page 27, solidifying the sale. Because I'm trying to limit my cancellations and our agency's cancellations. So solidifying the sale is extremely important. So it's page 27. And this is a page, when was the last time you read this and rehearsed it? Word for word. I actually taught one of our agents how to solidify the sale yesterday. So I made sure I read this before I taught it to him. Okay, so this is extremely important. I was studying my craft yesterday. I made sure whenever I closed the family last night that I did this word for word whenever I was sitting down with them. And I was excited to do it. I had to tweak my solidifying the sale to make sure it was exactly the way it should be. This is just one part. This is just one page of the sales talk out of the 35 pages, but it's very important. I was excited to close that sale yesterday and to solidify it. And they gave me a lot of referrals after that too, after I solidified it. It was pretty cool. So making sure, guys, you got to invest yourself in the sales talk. I don't care if you've been here, just like NBA basketball players. Once you make the NBA, doesn't mean that you stop practicing your dribbling skills and your passing skills. Right, the top basketball players, they practice your fundamentals constantly. Just because you made the big leagues doesn't mean you stop doing all the things that helped you be successful. Okay, so that was number one, is memorize your sales talk to have a fast start. Number two is dive into the Elevators podcast. Dive into the Elevators podcast. Whatever Todd said about Zach, that's one reason. Zach has been here for over 6 years, and he fell asleep to the Elevators podcast last night. If he can do it, he's been here for 6 years, so can you. Okay. I listened to it this morning on the way to the office. It helps you internalize the how behind the why. The how behind the what, why we do certain things. And it gives you technical skill to skill yourself up. We were blessed to have the Elevators podcast. It's only been around for about a year. And we have the best people in all of family heritage who teach on that. We have the Amber Winfreys, the Dylan Bucks, the Justin Ellingsons. And they release episodes, every few weeks. So we can just dive in and just learn from them. And it's so simple, just like Audible in your car. Listen to it, take notes. I have handwritten about 6 different of those topics and taught them to my team. The Class by Amberly Kessler. Setting up everyday enrollments by Amberly Kessler. I handwritten those 2 parts and then I taught them to the team. So if you really want to get something in a part of your cycle to sell really lasered and focused on, just go listen to something, handwrite every word they say, and teach it to somebody else, and you're going to know it like the back of your hand. Okay, and that's something that you have to do for yourself. Nobody else is going to do it for you, but you have to personally spend time and invest your time. It's not spending time, it's investing your time into skilling yourself up. That will increase your efficiency as a business owner. If you want to see the amount of closing percentage go up higher, the hours per demo, and just the amount of money you make per hour, that's where that comes from. That's how you increase the amount of money that you make on a yearly basis and per hour, is by doing things like that when nobody else is watching you. It's a lot easier to watch TV at night than it is to read your sales talk, listen to Elevators podcast, take notes on it. But doing those things is going to give you freedom. Discipline equals freedom. Higher level thinking. If you want to be a better leader, a better manager, have better weekly business reviews with your team, it takes things like that to be a top performer here. Being a legend in the business. And the good news is this call, the speaker is teaching on the Elevators podcast. In 10 or 15 years from now, all those guest speakers, they won't even be here anymore. They're all going to be retired. They're going to be living out their dreams. So if you go to the Elevators podcast, you may be like, oh, who's Dylan Buck? Who's 10 years from now, 15? Well, he's going to be retired. Okay, because they're skilling themselves up, not because they chose to retire. Okay. So you also got to understand that it's not what you know, but it's what you use that that matters in this business. We all have access to the exact same thing here. Everybody's on a level playing field. We have the same sales talk. We have the same access to the same website, the same products, but it's the people that use what they know that really matters. We're on the same Zoom calls. We have the same claims. We have access to all the customers in our territory. Everybody can see all the clients. If you go up to Maine and you're working up in Maine, well, guess what? You can pull up all the active clients in Maine. If you're in Denver, Colorado, you can pull up all the active clients in Denver, Colorado. You have access to that your very first day. But you have to use those tools and take advantage of it. And everything here won't come naturally. Everything here is a learned skill. So the Elevators podcast are teaching things that's a learned skill. If you're watching somebody and they have a very smooth close, like, man, that person's got a super smooth close. I promise you, their very first close was not smooth. They had to practice it. They probably written it down 100 different times and said it word for word, talking to themselves in the mirror like a madman over and over and over and over again until they got it down word for word, and then it became smooth. And they did their 6 demos a day. So every part of the cycle is so like, oh man, the agent is so smooth with their introduction. Man, Kyle, you're so good with using names. You make it sound like, a knife through butter. You can relate to anybody. Well, guess what? I had to practice that like crazy when I first started. Everything here is a learned skill. And you're just adding muscle to the skeleton, but you have to know the skeleton first. Okay, so that was number 2. Dive into the Elevators podcast and skilling yourself up. Number 3, to have an incredible start here, is whether you're doing the field training or you were getting field trained by a top producer, take it very seriously. Okay, I know we have 3 brand new agents in the field today. So I'm actually going to show my screen on the field training schedule. So everybody here, if you're a leader, you definitely have this in your hands. It's called a field training schedule. I've taught on the same part probably 3 or 4 times in the last year. But this is the schedule. And if you guys remember Brian Avers, he taught on this call about a month ago. And we had the best Thursday we ever had, ever on a non-train more week was that day. And this is the exact part that he taught on was field training. He uses this exact same outline for his agency. Okay, so starting before 9 says walk into your first business, and the new agent will actually approach the first business. So I'm not going to go through all this entire packet right here. It's pretty in depth, but make sure if you're field training somebody that you actually read this the night before you field train them, so you know exactly what it is. You meet them before 9. Meet them at 8:30 in the morning. Give them a good buying atmosphere. We may protect 5 families today. We may protect 0 families today. But regardless, I'm going to show you a good old classic 2 out of 3 day. We're going to work at least 8 hours. We're going to get our 6 demos, and everything that happens in between, not a big deal. Because I'm going to show you the activities of what it takes to be successful. Preface that for the day, right? And take as many notes as you possibly can. If you're a new agent and you're out in the field, you need to be actively taking notes on your leader and your manager. Writing down what they say, writing down how quickly they go in between businesses. And it talks about it in the very first goal period between 9 and 10 a.m. They're focusing on the pace, how quickly you move between businesses. We move very quickly in between businesses, but when we actually get into the business itself, we're actually there in front of the prospects. We slow way the heck down. We slow down right away from 100 to 0 really quick. Okay, we move quickly, especially since it's super hot outside. You want to move fast. You want to get from the car into the AC business as quickly as you possibly can. And then whenever you get into the business, your goal is to be there as long as you possibly can. You're going to slow down, break the ice, and connect with a person. Slow and low approach. Okay, and give them takeaways. Lunchtime, you eating lunch in your car. That's a great time to meditate. Okay, I promise you a new agent will not be meditating unless they watch you do it. And Dylan Buck will meditate in front of his new agents in the car. So that's exactly, I've done that several times and it's amazing. They're like, what are you doing? I'm meditating. So it's funny and it works. And the great thing is it resets the day. It doesn't matter if you got 2 sales by lunchtime or if you had 0 sales, it resets the day and you're sitting on 0 for the rest of the day. Okay, it doesn't matter what happened before 12. All that matters is what you're going to do from this point forward. Okay, so using this outline is critical. Showing them how to use Sales Rabbit. At the end of the day, after 5 o'clock, this is a part I love, is showing them how to put their stats in, making sure they're doing their homework assignments. And every person on here, in your first 30 days, you get an email with their homework assignments. Are you doing those? And if you haven't done them and you've been here for a month or longer, you need to go back and redo those. Okay, those are not just so we want you to do them. Those are for you to do them. You're investing in yourself. And a lot of those homework assignments are things that we've already talked about. Reading your sales talk. It'll give you a part of the sales talk to master every single day. It'll give you an elevators podcast to listen to, a fit module you can do. And those are things that is very important for you to get off to a fast start. And just knowing exactly what business you're going to be starting at for the next day. Make sure at the end of your day, you already have the first several businesses that you're starting at, before 9 a.m. the next day. Like, hey, we're going to start here tomorrow. Like tomorrow at 8:45, we're walking in this place. And then after that, we're going to go to this place, this place, this place, this place, this place. This is exactly. And then after that, we're just going to keep going B2B. But we're going to be starting right here tomorrow. So meet me here at 8:30 tomorrow. And we're going to be walking into this place at 8:45. We don't even know their name, but we're still going to start here. This is our first appointment is right here. So making sure that whenever you stop for the day, you don't technically stop until you know exactly where you're going to be starting at. That is a big error I see with a lot of agents, sometimes even veteran agents. They don't know exactly where they're starting for the next day. And when they wake up in the morning, they don't have a start time. Think about if you're about to run a marathon, but they don't tell you what time you have to start the marathon. You may not even show up. If you don't know the set time to actually have a marathon, you probably would have sleep in and not even go to it. But that's why they have a start time for everything, because that's the time that you start doing stuff. So have a set start time for yourself, have a set stop time as well, and know exactly where you're starting at for the day. That was number 3. And number 4 is kind of reiterating things that we've already talked about. But your first 30 days, it's very important to do all the small things right. And if you're in a slump, you need to restart this 30-day cycle. Do all the homework assignments that your leader tells you to do. Not so they can manage you, but it's for your own good. Do all the homework assignments because I promise you, I have data that shows the agents that have done those homework assignments have outproduced the people that have not. We can see how many fit modules you've done. Okay, we know who's done their homework assignments. The ones that have tremendously outproduced. The ones that actually invest time in themselves at night to study their sales talk have heavily outproduced. Their activities are way higher, and they produce 3 to 4 times more business. So be that person. Your first 30 days is extremely important to essentially, the crazy thing here is it only costs about $200 to $300 to get your insurance license. But you got to have the mindset that you invested about $200,000 to $300,000. Okay, like you're starting up your own business, like you're starting up your own gym or your own restaurant. Think about if you had to put $300,000 in debt to start up your own company, how seriously would you take that? That's the mindset you have to get. That's the only bad part about getting your insurance license. It only costs about $300. That's a very small investment to start up a company. If it was $300,000, you would take it a lot more seriously. You got to have that mindset here that you just forked out 300 grand for this. Because I promise you, you would have a set start time. You would be starting before 8 a.m. every day. You would not be stopping before 5. You'd be working way past that. Okay, if everything was on the line, if you have that mindset here, you are going to crush it. Okay, you're gonna have a lot more fun too. You will get through phase 1 of the career into phase 2 very quickly. Okay, 6 months from now, you will love the spot that you're in. But everything here is a learned skill. You got to focus on the fundamentals constantly. If you didn't produce, we just finished last month. If you didn't sell over 15,000 last month, I would highly recommend do those first 30-day homework assignments again. If you've been here for 5 years, I don't care. If you didn't produce 15,000 of premium last month, you need to get back to the basics. Just like every professional actor, athlete, musician, they're constantly practicing on the basics because that's what yields them the success that they want to have. Okay. Treat this like a real business because this is a very real business. This is an enormous business. This is massive. Guys, there's the guy that hired Van still gets over $1 million of residual income every single month. He's been retired over 10 years. That's enormous. That's massive. And he worked here for 12 years. Think big. Have a huge vision. You know, what are you working for? We're in Q3. Yes, we have a Puerto Rico trip. That's awesome. Have a huge vision. You know, why are you working super hard today? I want to put my kid through college. I want to save an extra $10,000 by the end of Q3 so we can have an awesome Christmas. We can go to XYZ for Christmas this year, whatever it is. Have a huge vision because you can bring that to life here in a very short amount of time. I want to put a pool in my backyard. In 2 months, I need to save $15,000 for that. Well, let's figure out how we can do that. I need to make this amount of sales. I need to go buy a new car. My car just broke down. My car's on its last leg. Well, guess what? You can fix that here very quickly. Zone in, get locked in. And by getting locked in, you're going to produce, you're going to win all the trips. You're going to have a nice savings. You're going to build yourself a nice generational wealth for you and your family. And it's fun. So I'm going to pause there. It's already 8:27. Man, time flies. Are there any questions or comments on those 4 things that we covered?
He speaks the truth. He speaks the truth. Know your stuff. It works.
Kyle, we can just email Nicole and ask her to send us those homework assignments so we can do them ourselves.
Correct. I have them saved on my computer as well, Brandy. I can, if you've been here longer than a month, some people that's been here for a while may not have those anymore. So I'll send those out.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, let's get excited, guys. It is Thirsty Thursday. This is the best day of the week. It's a little bit cooler today than it was yesterday. Excited. So I don't care if you're sitting there. You're one of three situations. You're either ahead of your goal, which is awesome. Now is the time to round up the score. So if you're already at over, let's say your goal was 5,000 for the week, you're at 8,500. That's perfect. You can double or triple your week and get ahead of the metrics for Puerto Rico. That's a great spot to be in. Or you're right about where you want to be for the week. You're about, right in the middle part. That's great. Now, the best thing is the best days of the sales week is today and Friday. Thursdays, Fridays are always a higher producing day than Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays. So get excited because the two best days are right here, right in front of you. So people will produce as much business on Thursday and Friday as they will on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday combined. Okay, that's just how it is every single week. And also, if you're behind your goal, it's okay. We have agents every single week that have a slow week until Thursday or Friday, then boom, one day. Like we had Erica Bolin write 5,600 yesterday. All it takes is one person, one client to really make her week here. Okay, so never give up because literally that next business is going to be your lifesaver. That's going to be the business that changes your week, changes your year, changes your career here. Okay, so just be excited, be focusing on the basics. Leave everybody in a better mood today, guys, because what we do matters. What we do matters. We have heard several stories just from our agency here in the past couple of weeks of clients using our policies, and we have a very young agency. Okay, so and we have several people. I've had several people call me with their clients going through serious claims right now. Had a client call me last night that I protected in December. That's going through 2 accident claims right now as well. So, guys, what we do matters. People will be using your product. So everything that you do right now, a lot of these people will be using it. It may be 6 months from now, it may be 2 years from now, but people are going to be using your products. So be excited. Get your head and heart right. Listen to the Elevators podcast today, guys. Listen to an episode you haven't heard in a while, and I promise you, it's only going to help you out. So let's go out there, have a great day. We will not see you guys tomorrow because tomorrow's Friday, but there will be a corporate conference call. And there's also one really good call today at 10 a.m. It's the governor's table. Kami Jensen is the guest speaker today. So if you have time, if you're not already in a business doing a demo, I would highly recommend listening to that today. Kami Jensen was a top 10 agent last year. She's in the top 15 this year. She's been in really the top 15 every year that she's been here. She's a stud. You guys will see her in Dallas, but she is speaking today, and she is a advanced B2B. She crushes enrollments. And she's very good at the basics to get to that level so she can be crushing enrollment. So if you want to get to the level where Kami Jensen is, I would invest in yourself. Listen to the 30-minute speaking part that she has today at 10 o'clock Eastern time, 8 a.m. if you're in Denver. So, all right, guys, let's have a great day. We will see you guys on Monday. The leaders will see you guys at 7:45 tomorrow morning.
Thank
Have a great
you.
day, guys.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you.
Bye.